Hello, everyone. My name's Mamie Lamley, and today you're in for a treat. Why? How many of you have ever had the opportunity to meet someone and they either liked you or they didn't like you? By raise of hands. There you go. Well, today we're going to introduce an amazing artificial intelligence, and it's based on empathy and value-based personas. And the reason why this is important for my partner and I is because this has actually changed lives. And in 90 seconds, we have the ability to either do business with you or you'll decide not to do business with me. How's that? How many of you are excited to learn a little bit more by raise of hands? Awesome. So what we're going to do is, just to get you started, all of you should have had a handout, but before I go through that, I want to actually thank some people here. You know, I do this every day of my life, and I'm nervous. How's that? Okay? But we want to thank Jason, because from the moment we came into this venue, he was right there to support us. So if any of you get the opportunity to actually become part of the Denver Startup Week, he is an amazing guy to actually get to know. Take a look around, guys. We are in Green Spooner Martyr, and they have opened up their offices just for us. And so let's give a round of applause for Green Spoon Martyr. We also want to acknowledge Public Works and Battery. And we also wanted to acknowledge Esther Leach, who is also part of the community that has opened their doors for us. So without further ado, I'm going to actually ask my compadre here to come on out. Guys, please welcome Dr. Eric Goodman.
Awesome. So good to see you and excited to share a lot of great information with you. You have the clicker. So a couple of things that we'd like to talk to you about, and actually, have you ever been in a situation where you were interacting with somebody, again, going back to connecting with people, where you were about to close a deal or maybe make a sale, and it didn't work? You didn't get the yes. Has that ever happened? Show of hands. Okay. And indirectly, when you think about sales, I think back to an experience I had just this weekend. I happened to go to one of the long-standing produce grocery stores over in Hilltop. And I was talking to the owner. He's there 7 days a week, 48 years in business. And I asked Pete, I said, Pete, what's the secret? I said, I'm going to be at Denver Startup Week next week talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. And he's somebody that came over from Greece and started a store. And he said, the secret to success in business, he says, is service. And he said something that surprised me. His second word was personality. And then the third word was quality. And I said, oh, interesting. Personality. Tell me more about that. And what he said was that, he said, well, you know, you've got to have a personality. But he said, my father always told me, you catch bees with honey. And you've got to understand who you are, but more importantly, you've got to understand your customer. How many of you are familiar with the idea of a customer avatar? Show of hands, right? And he has nailed it. And obviously, not just that location, but in Park Hill, food trucks, a liquor store now, and other things that he's done selling different products. But always looking at, what do the customers want? What are the products he should be carrying that the customers are interested in? And when you look at these numbers right here, I just want to share something with you. This is actually related to sales. When you look at the success of sales, and think about this. How many of you are in sales, would you say? Raise the hands. Okay, a few people. Let me share something with you, because when you think about sales, and actually, I'll share another story real quick. I promise we have got enough time. So I remember I was 9 years old, and I went into a store just a couple blocks from here, over on 16th Street, 700 block. Anyone from Colorado remember a store called Fashion Bar? Okay. No, long ago. So just a relative of mine started that, actually 90 years ago was when he opened his first store. It was the Hosiery Bar. But I went into the store and got a little jacket we were going to a wedding. And I had never met somebody that actually owned a store, and I was just fascinated. And I always found in life, when I meet somebody who can teach me, I can learn so much. And he was that person, because he had so much insight and wisdom. And I was the kid that took candy to school to sell to other kids to make money. My dad grew up on the south side of the projects of Chicago, and so it was cool to meet somebody like that. And what he shared with me was something that I remember to this day. He said, wherever you are, whatever you do in life, you're always selling. Because I told him I was excited. I said, I sell candy. And I won the world's finest chocolate bar contest in school and things like that, going door to door. But ultimately, the thing he said, wherever you are, whatever you do, you're in sales. He says, I've got another store across the street I'm competing with. I got to attract the customers into my store to buy my products. And I've also got to attract employees to work for me. I've got to convince them that this is a great organization, a great business to work for. And once I hire them, if they want a raise or a promotion, if they want to do something different, they've got to convince me that they're adding value. They're selling themselves. And then he shared it in ways that I understood. He's like, do you get allowance? Do your parents, like, why do they give you allowance? Well, you got to sell yourself on, them giving you allowance. Do you have a girlfriend? I'm like, no, they got cooties. Are you kidding? Like, no. He just said, well, one day you will, but you have friends. He's like, you have to convince your friends that you're worthwhile to hang out with, right? You've got to sell yourself and who you are. And so ultimately, I want you to think about how you're in sales. Your ideas, your concepts, your product designs. You're always selling something to somebody. If you're in a relationship, if I want my daughter to clean up her room, like that's a sales job sometimes, right? If I want to go to a particular restaurant with my wife, what does that look like? So when you talk about sales, though, what happens is 67% of salespeople, these are people that are professional salespeople, according to Salesforce.com, miss quota. Think about that number. And then 87% of salespeople don't feel like they're adequately prepared for what they are doing in the sales encounter. And worse part of it is 66% of customers are turned off by the sales experience. And you all probably have different words you think about when you think about sales, like that used car salesman, right? You're turned off by that. No one likes to be sold to, but how many of you like to buy, right? We love to buy things. And so ultimately, we're going to be sharing some things that will help you change these numbers radically in your own life. There's an interesting study from the Challey Group that found only 18% of buyers will buy from a salesperson whose personality type doesn't match theirs. Think about that. Think about the question Mamie asked at the beginning of the session about connecting with people. Versus 82% success when personality types are aligned. So I don't know about you, but I know I want to be on that 82% of the equation, that side of it, right? If I can align in a way that I could actually predict personality type, right? And so ultimately, what if you had the equivalent? I don't know if anyone recognizes this. This is from when I was a kid. Little 8-ball used to shake and give you an answer. But what if you had something like this, or even a crystal ball that could drop from the ceiling and tell you exactly what you needed to say and how to approach somebody to actually connect with them in a powerful way, that you could get a yes, that you could build a strong, trusting relationship more quickly? How cool would that be, right? And so when you think about this, and that's like 2 out of 10 times, when you're not aligned, you're going to close the deal. You're going to get a yes. You're going to have influence and impact that results in more income, right? If you are aligned, you'll actually get 8 out of 10 times you'll get that yes. So is it worth learning something like that? How many would like to learn how to do that? Just a show of hands. Cool. You're in the right place. So the most common mistake that we make is that when you think about the dynamics, and we're going to share a model that has 4 primary personality frameworks, personas, if you will, and we tend to approach the world how we want to be approached. I know. How many of you learned the golden rule growing up? Right? What is the golden rule? Someone shout it out. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Treat others how you want to be treated. How many of you would agree, though, that people have different personality types? So if people have different personality types, do you think they want to be treated like you want to be treated? If their personality is different than you? Think about it. I learned it very young. I was a manager at UPS, and I was recognizing an employee who was phenomenal, and we had an awards banquet. And we brought him up on stage and recognized him. And he came up later. He was pissed off at me. He was so embarrassed and upset that I had done that. I'm like, why wouldn't anyone want to be recognized and have that type of spotlight shined on him? He did not. And that was when I recognized that it's not the golden rule, but it's the platinum rule. Treat others how they want to be treated. Think about it. And so if you have a way of understanding how other people want to be treated, what happens is you approach the world how you want to be approached. So when you're talking with somebody else, 1 out of 4 times, you might find that same persona, and you're delivering the right message 25% of the time. But what happens is 3 out of 4 times, you're delivering the wrong message or script. So those are the people you're turning off. That goes back to that 66% close equivalent, right? When you think about that, what you're doing is feeding your competition. They're going to go somewhere else. They're giving you a no, right? So ultimately, bank has the power to transform not only your revenue, but your relationships. And I want to share just a quick video with you from somebody who went through some training that maybe I actually did a while back, that experienced the bank. And this is something just talking with the creator of this system, what she had to share about her experience using this system.
Bank has been priceless in my life. So I was struggling with building a business, and I saw Sherry speak on stage. In fact, it was where she's covered in money. That was that day. It was amazing. And I said, I need this in my life. And I ended up going through the coaching program as a client, and I had no idea what I had signed up for. I thought it was just going to help me increase my sales, which is what I was shooting for. And it certainly did that. So much so that I was able to grow a startup company to over 2.2 million and sold it. Fantastic, right? But you're like, wait, there's more. I had a relationship that I struggled with my oldest child for 18 years. And it was horrible and heartbreaking as a parent to not be able to connect. I didn't know what was wrong and I couldn't fix it. And they had come home from college right before I started this program, and they didn't want to be around me. The first day in, I knew exactly what was wrong. We were just different. And this program gave me the ability to have the most amazing relationship with my child. And if it weren't for this program, we wouldn't have. So I wish I would have known this. Every parent, every person, every human should understand and learn bank. It makes you a better parent, a better spouse, a better friend, a better business owner, and a better human being. And this certification and what Sherry is on a mission to do and what all of us as code breakers on our mission to do is priceless. So thank you. And congratulations.
All right, so before I get into the bank code and the report that you had an opportunity to get, and we'll put the QR code back up there, but you've got it on your sheet in front of you. It's very quick. One thing, just sort of backing up and quickly how I got here in terms of my fascination with high-performing organizations and individuals. It started as a kid, understanding like, okay, what is the secret to success? And Fashion Bar, for some of you who don't know, went on to open over 80 stores in certain states, about half a dozen, fewer states than that. But it was at one point the largest privately held retail organization in Colorado, and he sold it for, I don't know, 80 million or some ridiculous number when he exited that business. But ultimately, when you look at this, I've always been fascinated by that, and I'm a lifelong learner. I got my PhD at CU Boulder in business, and go Buffs, great showdown this weekend, if you caught that. But at any rate, ultimately, I taught business strategy. I looked at things that work for companies and helping people not only individually, but in their organization, really maximize their potential as a business. And in that process, I'm always looking out for game-changing tools, and this was one that I found. And I'm like, oh yeah, increased sales. And actually, one of the universities I was at, I went on to not only be a professor, but I spent over a decade as a business school dean. One of the universities I was at, we had a major in sales. And one of the things there, it got, decent results, training people on that. And I heard this claim about like tripling sales. I'm like, no, there's no strategy that can do that. But I was wrong, because I started using this with my clients and literally saw that dynamic play out over and over, where companies that had the 15, 20, 25% conversion rates went to 75, 80% or higher in their conversion rates by figuring out how do you connect, how do you deliver the right message to people. So on your personality report, and there's a sequence to this, and we're going to talk about what BANK stands for in a minute. But the first two positions is what drives buying behavior, what influences people. The third position is typically how you show up under stress, which is sometimes different. When you're stressed out, your head spins around like Sybil, right? And you are different. And so you got to be aware of that. And the last position is just what's least important to you. And so with the bank code, you can think about this and this idea, and obviously having had 1,000+ faculty work for me over a couple decades, you know, how you show up in a presentation, in a classroom, in a training, or wherever you're doing, sharing one-on-one with somebody, you not only need one presentation. Again, it's not the golden rule, you need the platinum rule. And to honor that, you've got to be able to adapt and flex and be resilient in your approach. Because nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And they don't know that if you're just throwing up and vomiting information all over them based on what you might typically want to hear yourself, right? Because that's not what they value. And it's not always the case that people learn how to do this. There's some people that learn it as a gift, and other people, my father-in-law was in sales for 30 years. He learned it, School of Hard Knocks. You know, a lot of years of experience figuring out and reading people. But this is the quickest, fastest way I have found to be able to do that. And there's other training that we do to help you beyond the cards do it. But bank is really a lens through which to understand yourselves and others, increasing your EQ. How many of you heard the term EQ or emotional intelligence? Okay. Such a powerful thing. If you're not familiar with it, obviously Daniel Goleman popularized it, but there was work before that. But ultimately, we know it's not IQ. And as an educator or recovering academic, I guess you could say, we recognize that EQ, emotional intelligence, is what's going to be predictive of your success in life, in not only your career or profession, but in family and health and wellness and financially, everything else. It's what predicts 80 to 90% of your ability to rise up the corporate ranks or the business ranks or build a thriving business. And so ultimately what I'm going to do with you is share with you a couple key things walking through each of these different personality types. Yeah.
To know what your code is takes 90 seconds. It's the first QR code on the handout that we gave you. Okay? That will give you a really good idea of who you are and what's important to you. That's how we get to start with how we can go to where you are, and that is where we get to practice the platinum move.
Yeah.
Okay?
Let's go ahead and give you some space to do that. How many of you actually already got your report? Just a show of hands. Okay, let me ask you too as well. We've got a bunch of other giveaways that we're going to be giving out at the end of this, and we will have your name to be able to involve you in giving you some gifts, some other reports that we have, and maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit, and a couple books and things that you might also be very interested in. So take a minute, because that way we'll have your information to be able to have you in that little drawing at the end. Does anyone need the flyer with the QR code as well? Did everyone have that in front of them? Okay, awesome. And you don't have to, you'll get in the email your report right away. You don't need to read that right now, but you'll be something that you can refer back to that'll be really helpful. There's a lot of information and some communication tips that you can apply today that will help you be more effective in your interactions. Okay, so product design. Think about a box, right? And for a blueprint personality type, you think about a blueprint. You think about architecture. You think about foundations. A blueprint person lives inside of a box. That's where they are. They value things like stability and structure. That's important to them. And I want you to, as we talk about each of these different personality types, it might be yourself. It may be somebody else you know in your world, professionally or in your family, that resonates and fits these descriptions. So they love systems. If you haven't heard the acronym for systems, save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. Really important. They want systems because it makes things efficient and effective. They love planning. They like processes. They also want to make sure that things are predictable. One of the most important things is to avoid risk. They hate risk. They want predictability in their world. They want responsibility, duties. They honor rules. Rules are meant to be followed by a blueprint because they're inside of a box, right? And they value credentials. That's important to them, and titles and tradition. So how does this show up when you think about your personas and what you're doing with your products? Obviously, it's important to think about, based on those values, stability and reliability. They want to make sure that your product is reliable, that it's tested, it's well documented, and that you've proven that it gets results and that it's going to last a long time. They want to invest in things that are going to be worthwhile. Whether it's a physical product or a digital product, doesn't matter. Clear communication is important. They want to make sure that there's the information, the details, the step-by-step procedures and processes and things like that that they can follow to make sense of what it is that they need to be doing. And they love structures and systems, of course, as well. And they want to understand that you've got them in your business also to be able to benefit them. And so when you think about then how to align your work with this, you've got to take that into consideration in what you're building, what you're designing. Stability, reliability, clearly communicating in a transparent way what it is that you're offering to them, because they value that. And also understanding milestones and timelines and things that you're doing, whether it's a new product coming to market or enhancements. They want to understand what that looks like and how do they get support. And also with the clear communication, going back to that, they want to know that they can get a hold of somebody or they can get the information that they need, and they can do it in an efficient way, whether it's a chat or something else that maybe can support them, or a help desk or whatever. But ultimately, they value those things, and again, credentials and traditions. They want to know that you have the background, you have the experience, you've got the wherewithal to bring a product to market, that it's a valuable product. They value the fact that in your design process, you've built in and looked at industry standards and things like that. And so anything you can do to talk about certifications and things that you have are also going to be important to them. And so you want to make sure you've got the reliable support built in for what you're doing, that you're detail-oriented in your design. They look for people that are meticulous. These are the people that are dotting the I's and crossing the T's, because that's important to them. And they want to make sure that whatever instructions you have are consistent and clear, and that you've got thorough planning and documentation and credentials that you support what you're doing. So again, if you've got expansion plans, if you're going to be moving into other markets, they want to understand that you've got the capability to actually do that effectively. So those are a few tips for the blueprint personality that will help you connect. And again, think about somebody you know, whether it's yourself or somebody else that fits into that box.
So when you are looking at each of the personalities, I want you to take a look at who in your life are these personalities, because this is where your disconnect may be at. And all it is looking at things through the view of another glass or perspective. So the action personalities are the movers and the shakers and the millionaire makers in their own mind. They are the ones that are seen before you can hear them, before you see them. How many of you can figure out which people in your lives fit in this so far? You know, an action personality, they strive. You know, the box where the blueprint lives in the box, the action personality says, what's a box? Get me out of the box. I don't like to follow rules. Rules were made to be broken. Anybody in your life remind you of that? Whereas the blueprint says rules were made to be followed. You know, an action personality. Doc, you got the clicker?
Oh, yep, sorry.
Action personality wants freedom, flexibility, spontaneity. They do not want to be chained to that desk. So when you're looking at working either with an action personality or you have an action working right next to you, these are the things you may need to adjust when you are actually engaging. An action personality, they love quick results. Give them the bottom line. Don't give them the details. Does this sound like a salesperson? Yes? It's one of the personalities that we'll find for salespersons. Why? Because they come in, they make the sale, and then they move out. With a action personality, they love enthusiasm, they love optimism and excitement. So when your client walks in and they want to know about your designs or your services or connect, they want that quick connection. They don't want to know about all the details and all the responsibilities. They want to know what's in it for me and what competitive edge do I bring or you bring to the table, because they love playfulness and fun. They also love status and image. Anybody come to mind so far as an action personality? Because you will deal with them differently from a blueprint personality. With a action personality, when you're looking at strategizing your designs, when you're innovating or you're scaling, action personalities will go fast because that's the only speed they know. And so if you're not one of those quick thinkers, when an action sits in front of you across the table, you're going to need to make sure that you adjust. And all you need to do is adjust by putting what we call the right lens on. So with action personalities, quick for that gratification. They want a fast track. They don't want to know the details, but they will buy and close with you fast. So keep that in mind. And if you can, gamify stuff. Have fun. Create competition. This is one of their things. If they come in second, they are the major loser. Yep. So keep that in mind. They love competition. They also love simplicity. And when you're ready to make a decision, come straight in and let them know what's happening. You don't have to give them the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it. But what we want you to understand is when you deal with an action personality, it is a quick decision. They will make it with you quickly. Remember I told you they are the movers and the shakers and the millionaire makers in their mind? Well, they've got an expansive visionary view. So when you're dealing with actions, you need to step out of the box and give them that bottom line. Who in your life is an action personality? Go ahead, write those names down. Because what you're going to find is that as you start to identify these personalities, you get to what we call shift. I can shift into fast and go. I can shift into systems, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a third personality, and that personality is a nurturing personality. Everybody go like this. Ah. Yes. They are the ones who will give you their shirt off their back. With an action personality, it's not about staying in the rules. Nurturing personalities, we bend the rules. Yes, I'm a nurturing personality. We bend the rules because we want to know what will impact you. How are we going to make a difference in the world? You see, the languaging is very different, yes? So the shifting has to take place in the languaging. We don't deal in currency, everyone. You know what our currency is? Thank you. It's relationships. It's the ability for me to look you in the eye because your eyes are the window to your soul. And so for a nurturing personality, it's about the connections that we make. Because in the connections, we know that we will do the right thing. We'll bring in the involvement. we will do it from an authentic perspective. Nurturing personalities are your best personalities to actually help build a team. How many of you are building teams by raise of hands? Okay. How many of you depend on another human being to do your job? By raise of hands. Awesome. For personalities, we need to understand that when we can identify that they are knowledge, they are action, or they're nurturing, we can shift in the languaging that we do. How many of you are seeing that? And it's in everything that we do. How many of you in one time in your life watched cartoons? Scooby-Doo. Anybody remember Scooby-Doo? If you watch Scooby-Doo, you'll see clearly the blueprint, the action, the nurturing, and the knowledge. And so with that, it's everywhere. The nurturing personalities, when you're looking to align with a nurturer, build meaningful relationships. The one thing good about a nurturing, they like you, they will tell everyone about you. You cross the line, they will smile while they take you down. This is my motto. Do not mistake my sweetness for weakness, because I will take you down and smile while I'm doing it. Yes? Collaboration and community is a big deal for us. Tell me what you stand for. Don't tell me what you do. I want to know what you stand for. That's a nurturing personality. Harmony and morality is a big deal. And so when we are in situations where there's conflict and there's massive arguing, guess what we do? We check out. So as you work with the different personalities, be aware of how we react. Yes, we are the emotional of all four personalities. Why? Because we come from the heart. There is high emotional intelligence, though, when we work. Why? Because we want to make sure everything that we do is for the good of the community. We love when you share impactful stories, because facts will tell and stories will sell. All right? Community engagements, relationship-centric scaling. It's a big deal. Build your teams built on what do we have in common. Now we've got one more personality, and that personality is Dr. Eric. And he is the smartest person in the room.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know about that. But oftentimes the knowledge personality is the smartest person in the room, but they just don't ever get treated that way, right? They're often not visible, and people don't recognize that. So, but the knowledge personality, for them, the currency isn't relationships. The currency is really information. They love information. And that is part of their quest. And that's why they value things like learning and logic, intelligence, self-mastery. Self-mastery, there's always another level you can go to in what you're doing. Technology, they value science and research and development. They want to understand the world around them, and they love universal truths. Things like gravity or velocity and momentum, and things that you can explain with laws that stand the test of time. They value expertise and competence and accuracy. They want to make sure it's accurate information and that you're competent with the information you're sharing with them, that they can rely on that and trust it. My motto, different than Mamie's, is in God we trust, everyone else bring me data, right? And that's really the knowledge personality type, depending on their beliefs, of course. But they value the big picture also. They love the big picture, but they can also connect disparate information and make sense of the big picture and also go deeper. And I should share with you, I gave the analogy of the box to begin with, about the blueprint being inside of the box. The action's blasting out of the box, really, based on their personality. The nurture's recycling the box. And the knowledge, these are the people that invented the box. These are the creators, the visionaries. And actually, probably those people are like, what? Like, they're thinking out of the box. Maybe like it's a geodesic dome, or maybe it should be a sphere. Like, why do we even need a box? But these are the people that are the creators in the world that come up with things. And so how this translates into aligning what you're doing with knowledge personas, of course, you've got to make sure the information you're sharing is valuable and that it's research-backed, that you've got maybe white papers or the research or the articles or the information that's accessible for them to figure out because they want to understand what you're doing, more information about your product and service and the type of testing you've done to validate it, all those types of things. And again, they want to also understand that because they love research and development and continuous learning, that you're doing that as well as your company and your organization, that you're investing in improving things, and that you use logic and reasoning, and that you can connect the dots, and you can show them why what you've created is the best and why they cannot afford to not have it in their life, whether it's a product or service. And technology and innovation, again, they want state-of-the-art, cutting-edge information, research, products and services, and to see that you're constantly investing in that and they value the accuracy and competence. Again, data-driven design. Are you using data to drive what you're doing as your products or service? Making sure that they have access to the expertise. And not just through the information on your sites, but is there somebody that they could give them an answer to a question that they have that may be not in your typical information or instructions or collateral or white papers, things like that. How do you provide them access to the experts around what you've built? Access to that, and then feedback-driven improvements. And knowledges like to have a voice, because again, often they're the smartest, but no one asks them. And so to the degree that you can provide them with opportunities to provide input and feedback, they will love that. They're on board with focus groups and other things like that, and asking them through surveys and asking for their input and what trends and other things that they see happening that can help improve your product. What's working, what's not working? What would you do if you had a magic wand and could wave it and change something? What are the features and functionality that don't exist? Informed decision making. Again, knowledge personalities will sell themselves, but they want to be informed when they make a decision because they want to make the right decision because they don't want to make a mistake. There's a psychology behind that. This is a whole nother lecture, but anyways, or information. But continuous learning and expertise sharing, again, they value that. So to the degree that you're able to create opportunities for them to learn, whether through webinars or product demos or things like that, whatever it is you're doing, involve them in the process so they can take their learning to the next level. These are all really important things for a knowledge personality type when it comes to how you connect with them. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mamie. I'll give you that.
Thanks. All right. How many of you, when you show up for a meeting, you are totally prepared because you've already researched the client that you're going to be meeting, or you're going to be meeting someone for the first time on a date? What did you do? Well, with Bank, we have the ability, or Codebreaker Technologies, we have the ability to understand before we go out there. Yeah, we stalk people. All right? It's a good stalk. Why? Because we have the ability to actually use technology that is out there. And the better thing is this: I get to understand the human being that's sitting across the table from me. And we've got various tools that we can use. You saw one of our tools. You were able to crack your code in less than 90 seconds. And we know that some of you took advantage of that because Dr. Eric is actually lining that up for us right now. Because we're going to do a draw for some prizes here. The other tool we have is this really simple credit card looking thing. And all I'm able to do is show up before a meeting, and I just actually hand them a card. Now, I need a volunteer. Anybody want to volunteer? Just come on up. One volunteer. I'll do you after. You didn't trust the process, yes?
I'm going to trust the process.
All right. What's your name?
Donzio.
Donzio? Mm-hmm. Did I pronounce it correctly? Yeah. Donzio. Thank you, Donzio. Donzio, take a look at these cards, okay? On the cards, there are values. And what I'd like you to do is take a look at the cards, and the one that actually resonates with you or is most important to you, I'd like you to put that card on the top, and then in sequential order, go ahead and put the rest of the cards.
Okay.
Would you do that for me?
So I'm going to action one.
While he's doing that, let me tell you a story. I walked in, I used to be in software for 17 years. I walked into a software company, and we were doing a pitch. And I realized that most of the people in the pitch started doing this, checking their phones, not paying attention. And the pitch that we were giving them was knowledge-based. Green screens and data. That would have floated Doctor's boat. But for the people that I was working with, 15 stakeholders, they weren't paying attention. So I asked my sales team, you guys trust me? And they're like, well, right now we got $23 million on the line. So I said, okay. I shut down the PowerPoint, and I asked them. I took out these cards, and I asked them to do exactly what I just asked him to do. How many of you would have said, what are you doing, lady? $23 million on the table. But guess what I got? $23 million, 15 stakeholders all went, what's the code, what's the code, what's the code? And what I found out was instead of it being knowledge-based, we found out that they were action and nurturing. If I had continued with that presentation, we would have lost the deal. So we went ahead and closed the presentation, and what we did was we talked about how our software was going to impact the lives of the millions of people who watched their programming. And by the time we were done, I closed $23 million in sales. We got to go to 7 continents. And believe it or not, I did not have to lay off 300 people who reported to me. Because knowing what their codes were, we were able to reutilize them. How important is that for you? So let's take a look at this. Let me pronounce your name again.
Donzel.
Donzel. Action. You are the mover and the shaker, the millionaire maker.
That's correct.
And you have the ability to, when you walk into a deal, you don't want the nitty-gritties. You want to know the bottom line. But as you are looking for the bottom line, you want to make sure that whatever they present to you has data and research behind it. And if they don't, then you're going to ask a lot of questions.
That's correct.
Now, when you get stressed, what does it look like for you?
In terms of like physiological or
Yeah.
in terms of
Your thinking, physiology, what?
off-centered? I would say.
Off-centered. Guess what, guys? Because he's thinking and moving so quickly. When he goes into stress, he goes into nurturing. And that's when he teeter-totters. Do I or don't I?
I do.
Yes? And then, if you take a look at his dress, he's actually dressed like action. Why? How do I know? Very chic. Shoes. Love the shoes. Okay? So people do this, guys. Don't tell me you don't. They go like this and they go head to toe. It's all for show, for a action personality. But what this tells me is this. I need to go quick with him, but I need to know exactly what he needs. And so sometimes I may need to go do some research before I show up, because giving him the bottom line is not everything. He needs to know that I know what I'm talking about. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So that's how I can do this in less than 90 seconds. And so when we take a look at the tools that we have the ability to actually walk into a garage and say, oop, nurturing, oop, blueprint. And then we can then put the presentation together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How we doing over there, Mr. Eric?
15.
15? Okay, cool. We got 15 more minutes. What I'd like to do is just show you a little bit about another tool that we do. Because how many of you want to do business with someone, but you don't know how to start? By raise of hands. Okay? We have a tool that we work with LinkedIn. And the LinkedIn process that we do is we have an artificial intelligence. Excuse me. I'm going to put this down for a moment. We have an artificial intelligence that we work with LinkedIn. So all I have to do is go into LinkedIn, and I can actually just click that there. So I wanted to work with this gal named Jeannie Zierhofer. She is one of the women that I took to India to speak on an international stage. And what it does is it actually will go out, and it actually will code her LinkedIn. So when I spoke to Jeannie, she's a nurturing action knowledge blueprint. So when I wanted her to go with me to India, and this lady has never traveled out of the country, I needed to explain to her the impact she was going to make when she spoke on stage to 2,500 people. Okay? Uh-oh, what happened here? And what happened was, looks like I lost some connection here. What I did with this is, what I wanted to show you is, I can show you the background of what we took off of the LinkedIn, and it tells me what actually she does, and in the nurturing action knowledge style. How do I use this when I go out into the world? I actually helped a client. He was looking for investors for his company. So what we did was we went out and took a look at the companies he was going to be pitching to. We ran all of the stakeholders through our LinkedIn protocol. We took a look at the culture of the company, and we put together his presentation, because Tony Robbins says, let your audience or your prospect determine your presentation. And so understanding the dynamics of all personalities, we were able to put together a presentation that actually connected with every single stakeholder that was there. And would you believe in 10 minutes we got a text that said, we hit it out of the ballpark. And the owner of the angel investors said, wow, you heard us, you saw us. This is what our codebreaker technology is all about. Simple, easy. Oh, it's still going.
Oh, wait just 1 second.
Okay.
It's a little slow.
There we go. So it's a little slow. But if you take a look, our AI went out, took a look at everything that was in her profile, and then came back with that. But this was the beautiful thing about it. I can then take it a step further, and I can decode it. Why do I want to decode it? Because when I decode it, it tells me how close her personality showed up. The higher the number, the easier it is going to be for me to actually speak in her code, to write in her code. So this is another tool that we're able to do. And one of the gifts that we're going to offer you is this. How many of you have LinkedIn profiles? By raise of hands. It's not going to cost you anything. Just book an appointment with either Dr. Eric or I, and we'll go through your LinkedIn profile, and we'll show you how you're fronting or facing your clients. A lot of times people will say, I'm in action, and it comes out blueprint, nurturing, or knowledge. And so what we do is we switch it and show them how they can use the languaging to switch it. And I'm going to bring Dr. Eric on. One more story. I wrote a book. My book, I was about to turn it into the publisher. And I said, you know, for kicks and grins, because our AI just came out, I said, I'm going to run that first chapter through it. When I ran that first chapter through it, guess what? My audience was personal development. It came back knowledge and blueprint. And if I had released that book, the audience that I was targeting would have been totally missed. Totally missed. And so I was able to write 6 books and actually go to a #1 bestseller, Why? Because we wrote to the audience we were writing to. So that's another tool set that we have. I'm going to bring Dr. Eric back up.
So the other thing is when you look at this tool, anyone heard of IBM Watson? A few people, Watson X. This company that developed this technology, Codebreaker Technologies, has been nominated Innovator of the Year in Orange County for multiple years running. Neil Sahota, who created IBM Watson, 20-some master patents, advisor to the UN on AI, is an advisor to this company that's considered the world leader in personality coding technology. So when you look at the ability to understand the language that you're using in any messaging, in brochures, in your website, whatever it is that you're providing, a pitch deck, it is powerful, but most people at a conscious level don't recognize what's going on. And that's why 75% of the time they're getting the no. And when you learn to understand that, and also the cool thing even on the LinkedIn is that what you can do is with that, you can actually understand very quickly, even on LinkedIn, you can pull up that same report that you just received by sorting those digital cards within that and actually see what it looks like. And so for that other person, you've got that crystal ball that drops down and you've got that type of information at your fingertips. So you know exactly how to prepare for each of the different people that you want to approach, and even the connection request message you send out to somebody else on LinkedIn, or an email, or whatever it is, a text. Doesn't matter. Anything that's language. There's even, you can upload a document and it'll analyze it. So if you think about what you have that's client-facing, customer-facing, the potential is enormous there. So what we're going to do is we've got the names of people that crack their codes right here. So we're just going to pick a couple people that we've got a couple different gifts for that I think you'll find very useful to you. Oh my gosh, Kristen. I am, yeah, there's some applause there. I guess I should make it a little louder, but we got some swag. We've got some other reports that we will be giving out as well. And maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about any of the different reports, but we've got Kristen, and we're going to let you come up and pick, actually, from this repertoire. There's some hats, there's a book, several different books. 10X is easier than 2X, about entrepreneurs achieving more by doing less, cracking the rich code. There's this information translated into hiring secrets. There's a document, professional communications secrets, and one that is speaking secrets. So you can start thinking about that if you're lucky enough to get the next spin, depending on what she chooses.
You're going to be receiving a report from us. This is the exact report. The other thing that you'll also get that you would like, if you'd like, you can contact us. We have a report that you can receive to actually talk to the client that you just cracked their code on. That was the other thing. So we have some examples up here,
All right.
if you'd like.
We have Terry C. in the house. Terry, come on up and pick something. All right, awesome.
Terry C., there
Yep,
you go.
he's coming. They're just on the chairs right there. You can pick from that. And then we have Colleen Shannon. Colleen here? All right, come on up. Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy the information. All right. Oh, Sarah Sprong. Sarah, awesome. Okay. We got a couple more, it looks like. We're getting... Oh. Where's that going to land? Right on the edge. Arturo Lopez. Awesome. All right. Carol Branson. Is Carol with us? somewhere there were a few people that did this in advance. Nope, you got to be present to win. All right, we're going to remove Carol. There are a couple of these that keep coming really close. I keep seeing a name. I'm like, I don't know the logistics of that. Brian Barraza. Awesome. Okay, and it looks like we've got one more that we're going to give away. Well, I was going to say, Sarah already won something, so if she came up twice, I thought I removed, well, I maybe didn't remove all instances. Let me spin that again. Sorry about that. And then Arturo, same thing, I didn't remove you twice. 2, double, that's your lucky day. Let me remove that from there. We'll get it. The suspense, I did this unintentionally to get you all excited. All right, Claire.
All right. And I'm going to ask you to come right back up here. Dan. See, I forgot how to pronounce his name again. Here's my book.
Awesome.
And in that book has a return on investment and a set of cards. And if you email me, I'll get you a directions on how to use it.
I'll do that. Thank you.
All right. All right.
I was trying to, I don't know if you want to cover it.
No, I think we're good. All right, guys. We are almost done. If you take a look at the bottom of our handout, we offer once a month. We do a 90-minute session. If you'd like to join us, please go ahead and just take a look at that link. The next one coming up is on Monday. I actually have a demo for a Dubai company, and we're going to be showing them how to use the artificial intelligence. And then we also, coming up in October, we will be doing strategic talent acquisition. How can you use value-based personas to hire your people? We also have a building business training that comes up. We do have 1 to 3 day trainings that you can take advantage of. We also have coaching programs. And if you see something, if you see that this could be used in your company, we are very open to coming in and doing a discovery with you. So our information is in the back. You have both Dr. Eric and my info. And Doc, come on back up here. We really thank you for everything, your time, because that is valuable, and we appreciate you showing up for us today. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.